If there's one thing I've learned from working all these years with people who grew up with trauma, the need to be loved and to find meaning and hope in the future is very strong. It's a strong drive, especially when love has been lost, when there's been trauma, when you're alone and you don't know where your life is going. And all of us, when we're in that place, are vulnerable. We're vulnerable to believing basically anything that feels like guidance, that feels like an answer to why things have been so hard, and anything that really just lifts us up and makes us feel good about ourselves. And we need that. We need those things in our lives. But the very intensity of the need when it's not met can make it too easy to grab on to fake, phony answers and fake wisdom and abandon the diligent, straight, and narrow path that healing and changing your life actually requires. And unfortunately, that fake wisdom also is an opening that makes it very easy for romantic manipulators to rip you off emotionally and sexually. So I wanted to share with you this video I made a couple years ago that focuses particularly on New Age ideas and myths that can mislead you in critical moments. And this is not the only belief system that can be rigged to exploit people, not by a long shot. We certainly know religions and political ideologies can be used to gaslight people, but I think New Age beliefs, for all their positivity, can mask harmful self-deceptions and provide cover for manipulative people at least as easily. So see what you think. Here's the video. Unfortunately, it can be very easy to take advantage of people who were traumatized as kids and make them think that some uncomfortable or painful situation will lead to them somehow being loved. I mean, love is something we all want so much, right? But I'm talking about certain New Age or personal development ideas out there that are totally common and widely believed, but that are really not true. So just for a quick example, the idea that everything you experience, you created unconsciously with your mind so that you could learn from it or something. And I know this is an idea held very innocently by many people. They're just trying to take responsibility for their thoughts. They're not trying to manipulate anyone. But when someone has had their perception messed with, which is often the case with people with childhood PTSD, ideas like this can become a kind of magical thinking that leaves the door wide open to people who love to push these ideas so that they can take something from you, your money, your hopes for a relationship with them, and then totally let you down, and even tell you that you created the situation because you wanted it, and they were just helping you or something, right? Have you ever had someone play that game on you? Ugh. And maybe you went along with the magical thinking because, thinking that you created some terrible situation is a little easier and maybe less humiliating than facing that you're actually being emotionally ripped off and that the right thing to do is to get out of there because this person is a jerk, actually. They don't care about you. You're both using magical thinking to keep you from seeing the obvious, which maybe you don't want to see because it scares you and makes you feel foolish, but it's that you're actually not loved but alone. You thought you were going to be loved, but you're not. You're alone again. I'm Anna Runkle, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy, and I teach people how to recover from the adult effects of abuse and neglect in childhood and how to develop a BS detector that enables you to, yes, learn new ideas and listen to people, but not get sucked into their magical thinking that's going to cost you all your boundaries and that good open-hearted possibility of love that's inside you. And I want to show you how to protect that hope and that tenderness in you because that is the thing that someone's going to fall in love with someday. Not because you're so good at going along with bad situations, but because you are you. You're your real, worthy of respect self. And that you thrives in reality. That you does not like dishonesty and instead wants truth and hears that little voice inside when something doesn't feel right. That you, okay? That you is fed by love and goodness, not unkindness, and definitely not some complicated spiritualized explanation of why it's actually good for you to be used by somebody, because it's not. Okay, so let's talk about a few of these toxic ideas so you can watch out for them. You hear them all the time. They tend to sound profound or like ancient wisdom, but usually, they're counterintuitive because they are counterintuitive. They're actually too good to be true, okay? So the first is when people challenge the way you're thinking or the fact that you're thinking by saying, hey, you're all up in your head, or you need to be more in your body, or you need to just breathe, or you need to be in the moment, or you're just being all left-brained about this. And I just want you to look at the pattern here. What these all are is criticisms of you. Someone who wants you to go along with something finds your need for clarity and thinking things through difficult for them. There's this implication that you're just not evolved or free enough like they are. Do you know this kind of person? And when you feel criticized, I think everybody has this, there's this little moment where you're tempted to override your own better judgment so that you get that person's approval. So there's pressure to not be in your head. In other words, to abandon what is logical, like being careful with your money or being guarded with your sexuality. It's so basic, but it's so persuasive. And this is exactly how you can be talked out of your natural sense of self-determination and self-protection into doing things that you just don't want to do. And then even to feel ashamed about any reservation you had. Listen, you don't need to feel ashamed. What's at work here is what I call crap fit. And that's a word I made up for the way that people who went through trauma as kids get way too good at fitting themselves to unacceptable people and situations, fitting themselves to crap fit. Because that's what we had to do back when we were kids, right? But now your crap fit reflex has you hiding the thoughts where you're thinking, oh, I don't want to sleep with this person, or oh, I don't think I should give them my credit card. And the only thing that makes you override those feelings is a deep down belief that you just can't trust yourself. You can't trust your judgment, that other people, they just must know better. Okay, another New Age myth. You are right where you need to be. Now, I understand what the meaning behind this is supposed to be. Life's a journey. There's suffering. We learn from it. That part's all true. But insisting that we're always where we need to be, well, first of all, it just kind of falls apart when you try to apply it to, say, an abused child or someone who spent the last 30 years of their life in front of a television. Well, it's just obviously not true. And I just want to tell you flat out, you have often been not at all where you need to be. When you were crying and no one came to help you when you were little, that wasn't where you needed to be. And when you were mocked by your classmates for being different, or when you were crippled by your own triggers and unable to break out of isolation, you weren't where you needed to be. And in the same way, being in some so-called relationship where you don't get to have expectations, you know what I'm going to say, it's not where you need to be. You weren't made for that. Suffering and pain are part of life and can't be avoided entirely. And with a little grace, we can endure hardship and loss and even grow through it. But please get over this idea that being demeaned would ever be sent to you for your own good. You hear this one a lot around bad relationships. A really wonderful student of mine shared this thought the other day where she described a past relationship as really good for her, but a really hurtful relationship. And I didn't get it. And I asked her about it. And she said she felt like maybe this man who had treated her badly was sent by the universe so that she could learn from the experience. And I mean, I kind of get it. I see the little tiny kernel of truth here that sometimes we're so far off base that it's only through a terrible experience that we will course correct and get clear about what we really want. So yeah, that part's true, sure. But it's not true like time after time where you suffer and suffer through relationships. I can't tell you how many times people I've coached were in some horrible situation where they were hoping for love, and what they got instead was to be cheated on, gaslit, and left. And they ended up more hurt than they were when they first met the person who treated them like that. And that's not learning, and it's not a gift from the universe, okay? It's crap fit. It's you trying to make sense of absolute crap, hiding from your own shame about it, not being straight with yourself. And I'm telling you, if you're willing to second guess yourself about bad treatment, people who treat people badly will have a funny way of showing up at your door. So if what you want is a loving, committed relationship, or let's be specific, a marriage, crap fit has no place in your life. Relationships that leave you feeling ripped off and demoralized are not learning experiences. They're crushing you. They're sabotaging the happy openness that is you, and that's the part that people fall in love with. So you being freely yourself, that's what we're trying to get to. If you're not clear about what constitutes a good person or a good relationship, That's got to be your first order of business, because your vagueness is where the bad people get in, like flies. The door is wide open. There's no screen door, right? So you've got to get out of vagueness. You've got to be clear what your actual standards are. What kinds of behaviors in other people need to be a red line for you, like no cross, right? Don't let that into your life. One thing that used to be a problem for me is I had a blind spot around people's addictions, at first anyway. I couldn't see it at first. And twice I ended up in relationships with people who developed, or in one case already had, a serious addiction. And it was a nightmare for me. And if you've taken any of my courses, you heard the story of how my life got dragged down by that and how I eventually got my life back. And one of the most important things I did, which happened not very long before I met the man that I'm now married to, was I made a decision that I would never again date someone with a drug or alcohol problem. And no judgment on those of you who are struggling with addictions right now. I'm glad you're here. This is a place of recovery and you are in the right place. But I knew that after all I'd been through with addicts and alcoholics in my family of origin, and then dating relationships, that for me, that was going to have to be a red line. And that's not who I was going to date anymore. And I wrote it down. And I was almost afraid to do that, to declare it, because of another New Age myth that had gotten into my head and had been preventing me from being clear like that. And it was this one: be careful what you wish for. I didn't think I believed it, but I had absorbed this idea that some people have, that you can tell the universe what you want and then it will give it to you. But that it's a cruel and capricious universe. Or the idea that God himself is just waiting for you to wish for the wrong thing, and then bam, you wanted someone who was loyal, you got a stalker. Or you wanted someone who liked adventure, oh no, she ran off with a skydiving instructor. You forgot to ask for the rest of it, right? That's the myth. And again, I get the point that sometimes we haven't yet developed a clear picture of what we want. But God, or the universe, is not just sitting there waiting to F with you and teach you a lesson about your little wishes and how they weren't done right. I'm a person who believes in God, as most of you know. And if you don't believe in God, I just encourage you to translate what I'm going to say to something that makes sense for you and fits your experience. But what we're created for is for good. And I knew when I hit bottom with the second drug addict boyfriend I had, he died actually. And I knew that I was not at all where I was meant to be. And that if I was going to be in a relationship, it needed to support the good that was already in me. And it needed to support my potential. And that I would know if a man was the right one for me by the sign that his presence made my life better, that I became better. And I knew that needed to work two ways, that he would know it was good if he became a better version of himself when he was around me. So I was never mistreated. I was never disrespected. I was never ashamed of being with the man who's now my husband. And that's what God wants for me, is to be loved and befriended and treated well. And look at all that's happened for me since my circumstances changed back then. Now I get to be here with you. So the universe, it's not a slot machine. It's not Amazon.com. You don't place orders and then see if you got ripped off by a sneaky deity. What I'm teaching here is that if trauma made you vulnerable and unsure of yourself, it's time to become clearer and stronger so that you can live your life in a good way that leads to your own happiness and the fulfillment of all that you can be, all you can bring to this great big community of life. If you want to strengthen your ability to identify romantic manipulation when it's happening, I've got a free download for you. You can access that by clicking right here, and I will see you very soon.